Okay, thank you all for the introduction. For those of us who may be wondering what HCI Lab is, HCI Lab, that's an acronym. It's HCI is an acronym for Human-Computer Interaction, and it is a research lab in the Department of Computer Science, University of Ghana. The lab is headed by Professor Isaac Biafe, who is unavoidably absent in this meeting, but we hope to meet him subsequently. And at the HCI lab, our research is mainly focused on advancing AI for low resource environments. And so it should be no surprise why we are the host of the hackathon, or the organizers of this hackathon. So for today's session, would look into what the hackathon is about, what teams are expected to build, technologies that teams may leverage on. We'll also look into the evaluation criteria, the relevant timelines, team dynamics, prizes, and then we open up the floor for questions and answers. I have about 35 people on this call. Could you please react or raise your hand if you have already registered to participate in the hackathon? Okay. All right, we have quite a number here, and at the end of this session, if you have already submitted your abstract or your project idea, please feel free to edit it. Perhaps you would have to fill the form again and resubmit your entry if you find the need to do so. Okay, so what is the hackathon about? The Tekyermapa challenges teams to design and develop inclusive digital solutions that support communication in Ghanaian languages. All solutions are expected to be accessible to persons with disabilities. Now, for this year, the challenge goes beyond building a technically impressive prototype. Teams are expected to identify a real-world problem. They're expected to understand the people affected by that problem and then develop solutions that can be tested, refined, and potentially deployed after the competition. Why is it called MTN Ghana Tekyermapa Hackathon? That is because MTN Ghana happens to be the premium sponsor of this year's edition. As I mentioned earlier, you're expected to solve a real-world problem. That means you should be able to identify a problem and then address a clearly. You're supposed to solve a problem that addresses a clearly defined communication, accessibility, or an inclusion challenge. Secondly, you're expected to design with your expected users. So show how persons with disabilities or your target communities informed the solution. Thirdly, you're expected to use local languages. So support Ghanaian languages. The solution should support Ghanaian languages, cultural realities, and our local infrastructure constraints. This is someone asking a question.
Using what then what? Or something else?
Pain. 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 Tracy.
Yes,
Tracy
please.
still on the call. Could you please mute the person who is speaking?
I can't mute from here though.
Yeah.
Please mute your mics. You are only allowed to unmute your mic if you have been given the floor to speak. All right, you're also expected to build responsibly, consider privacy, safety, fairness, consent, and accessibility from the beginning of your design. This should not be an afterthought. All of these factors should be considered from the inception stage of your project. And then you're also supposed to plan for adoption. At the end of the day, we are not just looking for another prototype that will end up in the shelf. We are looking for solutions that can be adopted. So demonstrate why people would trust, use, and continue using your solution. And then last but not the least, create future value. Develop a pathway towards the deployment, incubation, research, or a digital public goods. These are all things that are expected from your solutions. There should be a future plan. There should be a plan for adoption. You should build responsibly. You should use local languages, design for target users, and most importantly, solve a real world problem. Mohammed, please, your hand is raised. Is that new or old?
Old, please.
Okay, thank you. Now, what are you expected to build? There are different opportunity areas. Last year, we focused mainly on speech impairment, specifically for Akan. So we had solutions that were targeted or that were developed for individuals with speech impairment, and that cuts across those with cerebral palsy, stammering, cleft palates, post-stroke patients. This year, we are opening up the domain areas. So think of solutions. You can build solutions around communication and language, speech to text, text to speech, voice assistants, local language translation, sign language support, communication aids, any solution that aids or that would support communication and of course in our local languages. Then we also have education as another possible area. You could consider creating accessible learning platforms, AI tutors in Ghanaian languages, inclusive assessment tools, and classroom captioning tools. Now, these are just some examples. We are not limiting you to any of this. We are just providing this to guide your thoughts. You could also think of solutions in healthcare, maternal health support, medication support, rehabilitation, speech therapy applications. You could also think of financial inclusion solutions, mobile money, voice-enabled mobile money, accessible banking, fraud awareness tools, financial literacy assistance. Also, you could also think of solutions within the public service domain, within transportation, agriculture, employment, and of course, community and culture. At the end of the day, what you should ultimately take notes of is that you are designing or developing a solution for a low resource environment. So by low resource environment, of course, you know that we are faced with a lot of limitations and constraints in terms of even infrastructure. So whatever solution you're coming up with at the end of the day should be something that any Ghanaian can afford. So you may utilize technologies such as AI, machine learning, large language models, automatic speech recognition, text-to-speech, natural language processing, computer vision, sign language recognition, optical character recognition, robotics, Internet of Things, Internet of AI things, mobile and web applications, cloud computing, edge AI. There are really no constraints as to what technology you can use this year. This is different from last year's edition, where we focused mainly on automatic speech recognition. For this year, think beyond ASR, think AI, think cloud computing. There are no limits as to what technology you may use or adapt for your proposed solution. Now, at the end of the day, or mainly at this stage, you are supposed to submit your an abstract of your proposed solution or your proposed project. What your submission should ultimately demonstrate are the following. Now, we have listed this because not every team who have registered may be selected. There are selection criteria that into consideration. Your submission should, as I mentioned earlier, when I was talking about your solution, same thing applies even for when you are writing or submitting your proposed idea. The problem should be clearly explained. The problem should be significant and should be supported by evidence or insights from your expected users. Accessibility and inclusion is another assessment dimension. And here we are simply saying that your solution should should be accessible. It should be used, or people with disabilities or the intended users in general should be able to use your solution. And your solution should not treat accessibility as an afterthought. Remember that at the end of the day, we are advancing AI for individuals with disabilities. So think of any disability and how you can make your solution accessible to those group of people. And that thinking is supposed to start right from inception. It should not come in after you have designed your solution. Now, for the technical quality, your prototype is expected to be functional, appropriately engineered, and based on suitable technologies. Your system should also reflect Ghanaian languages, communication practices, and operating conditions. Now, your solution is also expected to be useful. It is expected to be trustworthy and likely to encourage continuous use. Now, your team should be able to address privacy issues, data protection, safety, and potential misuse. Those are things that we are looking out for in your proposed pitch. The team should also present a realistic implementation, deployment, and suitability pathway. The solution could produce measurable benefits for users, communities, or service providers. Now, as I mentioned earlier, that whereas last year's edition focused on individuals with speech impairment and it utilized only automatic speech recognition, this year you are allowed to think beyond that. Think robotics, you're allowed to think assistive technologies, financial inclusion technologies. Of course, ASR is still not left out. Text-to-speech, education and literacy, telecommunications, agentic AI. Now, in order to guide your thoughts regarding what solutions can I possibly think of, or how do I even come up with a solution? These steps are only intended to guide your thinking. So you could start off by identifying a user. That means you should choose a specific group and understand the barriers they face. In as much as your solution is meant to be accessible, you can definitely not address all the accessibility issues. In as much as you're supposed to design for people with disabilities, one solution may not be able to cover or to afford for all forms of disabilities. So you are advised, or we suggest that you choose a specific group and understand the specific barriers that those group of people face. You're also expected to define the problem, state the problem in one clear sentence, and explain why existing solutions are inadequate. Also, speak with potential users for the specific group of people that you are intending to develop or design for. Speak with them. They could be disability organizations, they could be service providers, they could be domain experts. Speak with the major stakeholders of the solution you are intending to come up with, or your proposed solution. And then decide how the solution will support different abilities, different literacy levels, devices, and languages. Then develop the smallest functional prototype that demonstrates the core value. Of course, number 5 is not expected to be handled at this stage, where you're only supposed to submit your proposed solution. And then observe users interacting with the prototype and respond to the problems they encounter. Plan for sustainability. Explain who will operate, who will maintain, who will fund or adopt the solution after the hackathon. Now, as I mentioned, all of the 7 points listed on this particular slide are not intended for this stage of the hackathon, where you're only expected to submit a pitch or an abstract of your proposed solution. But these are all factors that you should put into consideration as you progress into later stages of this hackathon. Yes, Turkson, your hand is raised. Turkson, do you have a question? Or that was an old one?
Hi. Sorry.
Hello,
Please, I was saying that. Hi. Please, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yes, I was saying that I think you stopped the recording.
I have not.
Oh, it shows us paused here. That's why.
Maybe network, but it's still reading at my end.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Perhaps what you're seeing is the timer I had set before, counting down to when I was supposed to start the meeting.
Okay. All right, sure.
Okay. All right. So as I mentioned, all of the 7 points here are not, we do not expect you to show all of these 7 points at this point of the hackathon, where you're only supposed to submit a pitch or an abstract of your proposed solution. We are only presenting this to you at this point so that you put all of this into perspective as you progress into later stages of the hackathon. Of course, at each stage of the hackathon where we need specific kind of details from you, we would request that of you. So ultimately, do not start with thinking about the technology. Start with thinking about about a person, a barrier, and a real need, then you can select a solution that can solve that problem effectively. At the end of the day, your solutions would be assessed based on, I think, 6 major criteria. The first is the suitability. By suitability, we would look at the core technical implementation. Is the chosen solution, is the chosen technology effectively integrated for the target users? For whatever technology you choose to adopt, have you been able to effectively integrate that for the target users? We're also looking into inclusion design. And there will be checking to what extent your solution prioritizes usability and accessibility for people with disabilities, individuals with low digital literacy, and those in underserved communities. Would also be looking into the feasibility of your solution. In other words, it will not do us any good if you present a solution that is over ambitious, and at the end of the day, when we check the feasibility of it, of course, it's really not something that can be achieved given the time frame. So we'll look into how practical and achievable your proposed solution is within the given time frame of this hackathon, given the available resources you have, and how it suits into the real world context of your target users. In addition to suitability, we would also look at the originality of your solution. How novel is the idea? To what extent does it offer a creative approach to assistive technologies and inclusion in Ghanaian languages? Does your solution address a clearly identified need within the Ghanaian context, particularly around communication, accessibility, or inclusion? So I think it's safe to say that the keywords governing this year's hackathon would be communication, accessibility, and inclusion. Would also be looking into your user experience. Does your solution offer an intuitive, easy to use interface that is tailored to the needs of its target users? And to what extent is it adaptable and inclusive beyond one disability group? That means if you can provide a solution that addresses broader accessibility needs, then please go ahead. We'll also be looking into scalability. Does the solution demonstrate potential for growth across different regions? Yes, you're at this point the focus is Ghanaian languages, but does it have the potential to be adapted in perhaps another cultural context or for a different user group? Then for when we start the presentations, this would be for teams that eventually make it to the ideation sprints. We would also be looking into the quality of your presentation. Are you able to effectively communicate your solution, the value of the solution, and its potential impact to your target audience? And last but not the least, would look at the market readiness of your solution. As I mentioned at the beginning, we do not want prototypes that will again end up on the shelves. We want something that is almost ready for adoption. Now, what are the timelines for this hackathon? We have 2 main phases. We have the pre-hackathon and so we have 3 main phases: the pre-hackathon phase, the hackathon itself, and the post-hackathon phase. The pre-hackathon phase, all of the activities happening within the pre-hackathon phase will be virtual. And the first activity we have, which is currently running, is the registration. It started on the 20th of July, and registration would close on the 10th of this month of August. While the registrations are ongoing, we are also having the awareness campaign, which is what we are actually having today. And that is also supposed to end on the 10th of this month. When the application deadline closes, of course, we would evaluate all the submissions, and then selected teams will be notified on the 14th of August. As I mentioned earlier, simply registering for the hackathon does not automatically qualify you to participate in it. Right from the registration phase, there would be some form of screening. So please, that's why I mentioned that if you've already submitted your application, and at the end of this session you feel the need to revise your proposed solution or the abstract you had submitted, please do so before the deadline on the 10th. Now, selected teams will then move into the online boot camp. In the online boot camp, consider it to be the beginning of your mentorship session. And that is expected to run from 11th to the 31st of August. You would receive mentoring from experts across different fields: technical, user experience experts, accessibility experts, software engineering experts. I think we have about 5 mentorship categories, and you would receive mentoring from all of these people. Usually the mentorship sessions, the mentorship sessions are usually, we have 2 of the mentorship sessions in a day: the morning session and the afternoon session. And the reason why we have 2 sessions in a day is so that those who cannot make it to the morning session should be able to make it to the afternoon session. We understand that most of us are students, perhaps even preparing for exams, and that's also the reason why we have a longer time frame for the boot camp. Then at the end of the boot camp, teams will be expected to make another submission. Details of what is expected at that phase will be, made available to you when we get there. And that would be the second screening phase. I don't know if I should call it first or second. The first is actually the registration screening, or perhaps I could call this a first. So at the end of the online boot camp, we'll have a first screening, and only teams who, of course, would meet the expectations of the judges or the mentors would make it over to the next phase, which is the ideation sprints and mentor reviews. So for each of these phases, you would see that it's some form of natural selection. Of course, some teams would naturally withdraw from the hackathon. Some teams would continue, but perhaps they're not paying much attention to the requirements for each stage of the hackathon, and so they may not make it to the next phase. But when we get to the ideation sprints and mentor reviews, you will now have more tailored mentoring sessions where you would have the opportunity, the respective teams would have the opportunity to meet with mentors and then go on with ideation regarding their solution. Of course, at the end of that phase, there would also be another screening, which will lead us into the hackathon phase. It is expected that at the end of the ideation phase, only the top 5 teams will be selected. And the top 5 teams are those who would then make it to the hackathon phase. The hackathon phase is going to be in person, and it is a week-long activity. So for the top 5 teams that will make it to this phase, they would then be expected to report in person to the University of Ghana. Will be hosted for the number of days of this hackathon. Beginning from the 26th of August. I think 26th of August is a Monday. That means the selected teams or the top 5 teams will be expected to report at the University of Ghana on the 25th. That is the Sunday prior to that, on the 25th of August. And then the mentoring starts on Monday. 26th to 29th would be the in-person mentoring sessions, again in the University of Ghana. And then we have the grand finale on the 30th of October. This is where the teams will now present their solutions to the wider audience. And then we'll, of course, have judges who would assess you accordingly. While the in-person mentoring is going on, we are also expecting to have a students' fair. It's supposed to be running concurrently with the in-person mentoring sessions. And this fair is intended for teams who did not make it to, say, the top 5, but who are still interested in showcasing their proposed ideas to maybe potential investors or industry partners. Now, at the end of the day, at the end of the 30th of October, of course, we would have 3 winners, 3 main winners: the first, the second, and the third. Those 3 teams will move on to the post hackathon. Sorry, I think it's, I'm not sure. I've missed that point. But the post-hackathon period is the time frame that you are now allowed to finalize your products and roll it out. So teams are expected to have a minimum of 3 members and a maximum of 5 members. And you're expected to have at least 1 female member in your team. You can have an all-females group, that is fine. You can have majority female and 1 male. You can have majority male and 1 female. The choice is yours, but you should have at least 1 female member in your group. And since our focus is accessibility and inclusivity, teams are expected to have at least 1 person with a disability. Now, the reason is these are the people you are developing for. How best would you know about their challenges if you do not use the participatory or some co-design approach where you learn from them firsthand and then you use that to build? So we have 3 main prize categories: the first, the second, and the third. The first prize is 70,000 Ghana cedis, second 20,000 Ghana cedis, and the third 10,000 Ghana cedis. Of course, you can see the gap. That is intentional because the winner is expected to deliver a product that is ready for use. In addition to the 3 main prize categories, we have other award categories. We have the best agentic AI solution, best financial inclusion solution, best digital experience innovation, and then the best female-led team. All right. Now I have come to the question and answer session. So please, if you have any questions, raise your hand and I'll give you permission to speak. Yes, Frank Edu.
Good morning.
Good
Thank you
morning.
very much for the opportunity. My question is that for those who have already applied, we didn't see the information regarding the one female rule, and then I think the disability inclusion was obvious, but the rule about including one female was not on the form. So do I have to apply again, or is there a way I can edit my application?
If you have a female member that you intend to add, as I mentioned
Yes.
earlier, you can go ahead and resubmit your application.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay. Yes, Beverly.
Yeah, thank you very much. Please,
You're welcome.
I wanted to find out, is it just for students who are in people who are in the university or teams that work in a company can apply?
We need students.
You need students. Okay,
Yes, please.
thank you very much.
Are you a startup
No,
company?
teams can apply. The company teams can apply. They only need to have some students amongst them. That's all.
Okay. Beverly, did you get that
I
clarification?
Yes, because I was filling the form yesterday and I realized that it looks like we need students, but what I just wanted to find out. So thank you very much.
Okay. All right. So that has been clarified. We need some what Prof. Yafe just said is that students, your team can be made up of both students and those in the industry. Okay. Mohammed.
Please, I think my question is answered.
Okay. All right. Michael.
Yes, please, good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, so please, I think with my question is answered because I was about to ask if it's only university student because I've completed senior high, but I'm not in the university yet. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, thank
Please, you
you.
can apply. Yes.
All right.
Okay. Emmanuel.
Okay, so please, I wanted to know when you were doing the presentation, everything was about the ideation, and I think the one that caught my attention was the ideation and the sprint. Is it that, and would there be some specific time or within this period the team members are expected to build or something? I just wanted to know that or something.
I'm not clear. Could you state your question again?
So when you were doing the presentation, I realized that every phase was about ideation.
You
and
realize that
most of the stages were ideation. So I wanted to know if there are times that are given for the team to build or something. I just wanted to know.
Okay, so you are expected to even already start building as you make it through each phase of the hackathon. As I mentioned, there would be different things that would be expected of you. Now, we don't expect that you would use only the 1 week that you'll be coming in, assuming you make it to the top 5. We're not sure you can actually come up with a product within that time frame. So please, you can already start with your development. The only requirement is that for each stage where we ask for a specific thing, you should be able to deliver your best in order to make it to the next phase.
Okay, thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Yes. So, for example, at the ideation phase, if you even already have a working prototype, you can share your prototype ideas with the mentors, and if there's any need for them to polish your ideas, you get feedback from them, you use that to refine your solution, and then you go on.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay. Anoch, is it Anoki or Anochi? Please forgive me if I don't pronounce your name correctly.
Oh, so you can just say Edward. Edward is fine. My name
Edward.
is Edward.
Okay. All right.
So thank you for the opportunity, and I would like to say good morning to each and everyone, and thank you for a great presentation. So my question is about the mandatory that we should have a person, let me say like the PWD on the
Yes.
team. And so I was asking if a team doesn't have a PWD, do you have maybe a pool of PWD that we can maybe request from, or?
Okay. Thank you, Edward. I think I'll let Prof. Yafe come in here.
We can help, but we wouldn't make that our headache. We can help, but I don't want to say that before everybody we say that we should find people for them. It's a competition, so we don't want to give you someone who is not playing a role. You are just the person is just there. You get my point. So let's see how we will do it. But if some people need, we can help. We will connect them to the necessary people.
Okay. Thank you, Prof. Emmanuel Kwesi.
So my background is multi. I wanted to. My question is in the chat. I don't know whether you can read it. And I guess
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Let me check. Oh, that's quite a lot. Okay, you know what? Let's finish with those who have their hand raised, and then we'll go to questions in the chat. Okay, Angela. Angela, please ask your question. If Angela is not ready, Beverly Williams, is that new or old?
This is new.
Okay, please go ahead.
Yes. I want to find out now that we have a lot of these AI stuff, what's the restriction on that? And also the next question too, I don't know if it was a problem with the form I was filling in choosing the minimum member. And after that, I had to fill in each member's details, right? But after filling, let's say the third person, I was asked to go on with the fourth, the fifth. So I don't know if it has to do with the portal, because if you choose a minimum member on the option, I think we could only fill in the details of the number of people you have.
Okay, if you would notice, the fourth and the fifth are not compulsory entries, are they?
They looked compulsory, and I couldn't move to the next, so I don't know whether.
All right, we will check, but if it is compulsory, you could simply type in NA, not applicable.
All right, okay.
All right, you're welcome. Then what was your first question again, please?
What's the restriction on AI, the use of AI in this competition? Yes, so that I just want to know.
Okay, again, I'll hand you over to Prof. Yafe.
Yeah, there's no restriction on the use of any AI tool. We want solutions. So we actually want AI. So I don't know what you mean by a restriction on AI. Can you give an example?
I think what you said just answered that maybe some competitions they wouldn't want that you use that a lot and all that.
Yeah,
So
what I mean
thank
is
you.
that, what do you mean by you use that a lot? Can you explain?
In delivering your solution.
girl is just.
In delivering your solution, like how? Can you give example?
Let's say you have you build your product and you use the AI to do it. That's all I'm just asking.
No, we don't have any problem. We don't have any problem.
All right, that's okay. Thank you.
Okay. Then we have Mohammed Ibrahim.
Okay. So please, my question was, if you have, let's say, 4 guys and then one PWD as a member of the team, is it okay with it?
Yes, that's fine.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Ben Ajay. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. And please, I would like to ask if it is compulsory to have a PWD on your in your group.
I think Prof has already answered that. Someone asked a similar question.
Okay. And please, I didn't hear.
You joined late.
Yes.
Yes, it is compulsory. At the end of the day, we encourage co-design or participatory design.
Okay.
So it is expected, let me not say mandatory, it is expected that you have at least one person with a disability in your team.
Okay. 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 Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Emmanuel Kwesi, is that new or old? Emmanuel, your hand is raised.
Okay. I wanted to ask this. With the disability, the PW, I wanted to know if maybe in your team you could have maybe one lady and maybe 2 guys, or maybe 2 ladies, 1 guy. Then you might have somebody close in your vicinity whilst you are developing the thing. Then this disability person is actually helping you with the testing. But when it gets to the ground labor, he can't actually come with you due to maybe for some financial reasons or distance or something. Would it be a problem?
Okay, please let me hand you over to Prof. Yafe.
When you have such a situation, let us know. Because we are likely to transport from those who qualify for the finals to Accra. So it shouldn't be a problem we bring in the person, unless the person is someone who cannot move. So we would have to get a reason, because the thing is that the solution should address someone who is disabled, and we are looking for inclusivity. So we want to be sure that everybody participates. That's why we need them.
Okay, so meaning when I'm filling the form, I should add that person to the form.
Yes, you have to indicate.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Right. We also Emmanuel Ammo.
Please, my name was mentioned. My question is in the chat. I don't know.
Okay, so we'll get to the chat shortly. Angela, your hand is still raised. Is that new or old?
Hello.
Okay, please go ahead and ask.
I couldn't join early, so I don't know if my question has been answered or not. But I want to ask if it's mandatory for a disabled person to be part of the team.
It is expected for a disabled person to be part of your team.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Emmanuel Kwesi, is that new or old? Your hand is still raised. Mohammed Ibrahim, Is that new or old?
New, please.
Okay, please go ahead so that we move on to the chats.
Okay, sure. Please, I wanted to ask if, in case you want to find out, will there be any contact or something that, in case you want to find out something or any update from the organization or something?
Yes, we have that. So let me send an email to the email address on the screen. Payin, could you please drop it in the chat? You could also. Tracy, are you there? Okay,
Yes,
members of
please.
lab are not. Please quickly type the email address in
Okay,
the
sure.
chat. Okay, now we can move on to the chat. I'll take it from the top. Please, I heard those who have already submitted their idea, they should do something. I didn't hear the rest. What I simply said there was, if you have already submitted and after this session, you feel the need to revise your proposed idea or your proposed solution, feel free to resubmit, but that should be done before the deadline. Is application different from proposal? We are mainly saying the same thing. Please, is the pitch same as the application that we submitted? In the application, there is a question that requires you to submit your proposed idea. Then someone asks for the application link that has been provided, and we also have the QR code here. Use anyone that suits you best. Please, I want to revise. So do I need to do a new application? Yes, you can resubmit. So please, since we are thinking beyond voice impaired people, we have to find a kind of person with a disability that we want to solve their problem and work on that. But must it be in line with what the judge, in line with what the judges may be expecting, if I get it right. Your question, I think there are some typos. I'm not sure what you're trying to ask. If you could please edit or rephrase your question so that we can get exactly what you're asking. Then someone said, please, how can we get the recording for this meeting? Okay, we will make that. So if you check, moving on, probably by this time tomorrow, if you check the Hackathon website, you would see a part of it that has materials for the hackathon. Check there and you would most likely find the recording or link to this meeting's recording. Sorry, I joined a bit. No. Please, what about if the disability person isn't a student? That is fine. Sorry, I joined a bit late. I don't know if my question has been answered. Would there a team with an idea that works around 2 of the ASR models be given access to both or only one? Imawakwesi, your question is not clear. Imawakwesi, please, are you on this call?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
So last year there was only one model that was P. This year we have, I understand it's GA, Ever, and P, or maybe the other one. So I'm asking that if the idea borders around even 2 or 3 of them, is it possible to have anybody be required to work on one? That's what I'm asking.
Okay, even though your background is noisy, let me try to get your question clearly. So are you concerned about working on more than one language? And you need access to ASR models for those languages?
Sorry, come again.
I was also struggling to hear you. Is your question about if access will be given to ASR models, assuming you're working on more than one language?
Yeah, so the idea has to do with something that has to do with the 2 of the models, something like that.
3 of the models. Which of the models?
I said two.
ASR models. Would you be given access to our ASR models?
You mentioned
that your
last year you had 3. So I'm asking that this year, do we have, since you have more than 1, if a team wants to work on, let's say, GAN and 3, is there, the team will be giving access to the 2, or all of them are in 1? That's what I'm asking.
Okay, at the moment, at the HCI lab, we have an ASR model for Akan and Ewe. However, we have data sets for Akan, Ewe, Dagbani, Dagari, Iposo, and Ga.
So we can get access to the Ewe and 3, is that right?
Yes, please.
Oh, sure. Thank you. Question answered. Thank you.
Okay. Can you still be part if you don't have the disabled person in your team? I think we've answered that. What if the disabled person is not a student? We've answered that. What resources, tools, and data sets will be provided by the organizers? And are teams required to use only what is provided, or can we bring our own? You can bring your own. You can also request for data sets or ASL models from us. Only contact us regarding what exactly you need, and if it's something we have, we will make it available. However, you are not restricted to using only resources from the HCI lab. Please, can we form the 5-member team and add the PW to making it 6? Your team should not be more than 5. Please, do we have a pool for PWD so we can add them to our team since maybe we can't get one? No, we do not have a pool. Please, would there be kits provided or any components provided? Mohammed Ibrahim, could you elucidate on that question? And then will we be given a data set? As I mentioned, we have speech data sets for Akan, Ewe, Dagbani, Dagari, and Iposo. And all of these data sets are open access. They are available online. Payne, could you please drop the link to the UG speech data sets? It's open source and freely available for use. Okay, thank you. We also have a data set for maternal health. The main aim of that data set is for machine translation. So it's a parallel English to Akan data sets to support maternal health communication or maternal health care. Payne will also drop the link to that data set. Those are open access and freely available to you. And then someone asks, what if you have an exam during the time of an in-person meetup and also final year defense? So that get the time to go write exams. And we have factored in your exam period into the schedule for this year's hackathon. Now, the in-person session begins on the 26th of August. That is supposed to be, I think, the first or within the first few weeks of resumption in next semester. So I don't think your exams would be clashing with the in-person mentoring sessions. But if it does, please.
Okay, let me tell you. The point is whether it clashes or it's not clashing is not a problem. It's a competition. So you can decide you are supposed to be here for a period. What we are doing is that we want to host you to give you the space for you to do the things that you need to do. If you decide to stay and come on that very Friday and you present a solution, that wins. We don't have any problem. So we wouldn't want to make that one to a headache. That is your problem. If you think you can go and write your exam and come back and whatever, that is all not our problem. We are only giving you a conducive environment. If you don't need that, we don't have a problem. That's all.
Okay. Thank you, Prof. Someone asked, please, what about GA and tree? So we can request from now things we need. As I mentioned, Payne is going to drop the links to the data sets that we currently have as open source. Please, my question is, would we be given any components or tools for our projects? I don't know if you're still referring to data sets, but as I mentioned, it will be, the link to those data sets will be made available in the chats. Okay. I still have 2 hands raised. Emmanuel. Funny enough, they are both Emmanuel. So Emmanuel, Kwesi, have we addressed your question, or that's an old hand? Okay. Emmanuel Amo. Is that new or old?
Hello.
Yes, please.
Yes, thank you very much
Sorry,
for
let me
the
put my hand up.
opportunity. My name is meet Professor Riafi virtually, and I hope to meet him in person as well. Before I proceed to my question, about the issue with the exams, I'm from Ghana Communication Technology University, and we are currently in our revision week, which means from next week on, we'll be starting exams. So I was hoping that in case a team like us should make it to the in-person stage, can a message or a letter be written to the school to inform them so that they can make this one for us?
So what you said your exam is when?
It's going to start next week, and we have about 3 weeks to complete the exams.
Okay, and your
So
concern
you
is
see, we can write a letter, but I don't see how that should be a problem for you. We writing the letter is not a problem. We don't know whether some schools are actually bringing people to represent them, and some people are coming from some universities, but they are coming on their own. So, but we can write a letter. But my point again is that we are not saying that it's a compulsory thing that you have to come here, you have to do this. No. All that we want, the basic rules of the tournament is you should have someone with PWD, and then you should be able to get a solution that is attractive. All the other things that we are doing, actually, what we are calling online mentoring and things, are some form of trainings that we are going to explain concept to people to help them come out with a very good solution. But if you think you don't need all that, and you can come for the finals and come and do the thing, we don't have any problem with that. I hope you understand. We are very flexible. We are very, very flexible. All we want is a solution. That's all.
Thank you very much, Prof. I really appreciate it. Now, as the presentation was ongoing, we made mention of a lot of do's and eligibility criteria we need to follow to be able to make it to the winners of the competition. And I wanted to ask, how strict are they? And then, in the case whereby a team has a different method of arriving to the same solution, are they permitted to use that method? Thank you very much.
okay. In my presentation,
I don't get that one. You said some methods. What methods are you talking about? Can you explain?
Yes. So, for instance, say the ASR model, we have been provided with a model to use. Meanwhile, a team has another solution or another way of getting that ASR model. Are they permitted to use that?
Yeah, we don't have any problem. We are not saying use our models. We are saying we have models that are open source, so you can use it. It's a hackathon, so you are coming with your solution.
Okay.
But if you ask for something and we can support, then we support. Because in any case, when you win the prize, you won't give us part of the money. So we can only give you support. We are not promising support. It is a hackathon you are doing to win. But if these are things that we have, that if you want and you ask us, we can give you. We are not saying that you have to use our models and things. No, that's not what we are saying. We have them, so and they are open source. So if you want to use it, we can give you the opportunity to use it. That's all.
okay.
I hope you are okay.
Okay, Emmanuel Gamo.
Okay, so I'm very grateful for the fact that there was an open source ASR model that would help. But then I wanted to ask if with this hackathon, are we limited to the number of local languages you are expected in a project? If maybe a team decides to use only one local language in their project, would it be affected or something? That's one question. And yes, so please answer that one before I give the follow-up. Please, were you able to get my question?
Yeah, your question, I'm not getting, because it looks like people are confused. We are not saying do this. I think people are completely confused. We are not saying do this. We are saying that it's a hackathon.
Okay.
There are numerous solutions on earth. Solve a Ghanaian problem that relates to communication. What we mean by that relates to communication is that you should have something that people can communicate. It does not mean that the solution should be a communication solution, but there should be communication in it. And we expect that the communication should address multiple people, people with different disabilities and stuff like that. So if you come and you provide a solution on how blind people can make calls with their phones, how blind people can walk to Accra and go and buy something, how blind, that is it. So I don't know why you people keep limiting it and asking us something that we've not said. We've not said that you use a particular language. We said it should be communication and it should have a Ghanaian language. That is all.
Okay. Thank you so much. And this one, with this one, when Doc was actually presenting, she was like, if you give an exaggerative idea, pitch or something, it's probably might go against it. It was like just a passing comment. Was
That
this
is
like
not what she said. No, she didn't say that. She didn't say that. She said that we are not going to measure the output based on some exaggerated thing. We want to see a solution.
Oh, okay.
So
Thank
what
you
she's
so
trying
much.
to say is that if you come and say that we are going to model a spacecraft that moves from Ghana to America, the moon, and it is command, you speak to it in tree, you talk all those things, and then you finish and don't have a solution, we won't mind you. Because that's what people have been doing in hackathons. They go and pitch some wild thing. At the end of the day, when you ask them of the solutions, they are just showing you demos. No, we are not doing demos and pictures. We want you to be able to have a solution that can be implemented. That is why the money is huge. That's what she said.
Okay, thank you so much for clarifying that, because my heart was beating.
Welcome.
Okay. Sorry, please. Is there a Hausa data set? We do not have one, but perhaps you could check online and you could find one. All right, ladies and
sorry, let me keep in something. Before anybody makes a mistake, Hausa is not a Ghanaian language. So if you do something in Hausa, it doesn't count. Hausa is not a Ghanaian language. You can check. It is not a list of languages considered to be a Ghanaian language. The fact that we speak Hausa in Ghana does not mean that it has been recognized as there's no institution in Ghana that you learn Hausa as a basic language. You can check that. So please, if you use Hausa, we don't have a problem, but you should have a Ghanaian language in addition. Yeah.
okay. Thank you very much, Prof. Please, any other questions before we call it a wrap? Okay, in the absence of any other questions or concerns, we thank you all for joining this session. Thank you very much, Prof. Yafe, for joining. I don't know if you have any final words for the team or for the participants.
Not really. All that I would say is that it's an opportunity to be very innovative, and then focus on communication. What I mean by focus on communication is that whatever technology that you are doing, you should ensure that the communication is solid. So whether you want to do a market app, the communication should be solid, that people can communicate. Whether you want to do an app for people to buy credit online, an app, anything for people to do bank transactions, anything that you are thinking about, the communication aspect should be very, very solid, that people can communicate in local languages and then get the output. That's all that I will thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Prof. And thank you very much for joining this session. Please go ahead and submit your applications. You have the QR code on the screen, the links. The link is also in the chat. Submit your application and please do so before the deadline closes. We wish you all the best and hope to see you all make it through to the pre-hackathon phase. Do have a lovely day. Bye.